Let's pray. Thank you, Lord, again, just for a time to get together here as we, again, just prepare ourselves for this trip to Israel. God, I thank you for the group that's here. Pray for those that couldn't make it today. I pray, God, you bless them wherever they are, whatever's going on. Pray for those that are watching this online. I thank you for their faithfulness in just preparing themselves. We look forward to spending a couple of weeks with them in the Middle East as well. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, guys, online. We're online. This one's working, so we'll try it again. I apologize for the lack of people being, or the lack of classes being on, but hopefully we'll pick it back up again. You haven't missed a lot. We've been just kind of talking about the trip. We did give the date of the rapture, but it's not online, so sorry. But other than that, we're good to go. So glad.
You missed it.
Glad you missed that. Sorry.
Should have been here in person.
But here we are. But today, we're going to cover today is we're going to go current today. So we're going to look, I've never taught this in an Israel 101 class before, and I was telling some of the folks here earlier, I believe this is my 8th year of teaching Israel 101 before a tour. Either 8th, 7th, or 8th. So we've been doing this for a while, and keep adding stuff, adding stuff. This is the first time on this, and I thought of this the last time we were there. We were driving in Jerusalem, and as we were driving, someone just points to, there's the Knesset. And a few people around me, oh, the Knesset, but other people said, what's a Knesset? And I felt embarrassed myself for not preparing y'all with what the Knesset is. That would be like taking a tour of Washington, D.C. There's the White House. What's the White House?
Exactly.
There's Congress. There's the Senate. What's the Senate? So I want you to understand a little bit about the government structure, the difference between the Prime Minister of Israel and the President of the State of Israel, how that works, how their cabinet is so much different than our cabinet, what their security cabinet looks like, what does that mean. I just want to get all that into you so you know. So when you see the Knesset, instead of just drive by, cool, you'll actually take pictures of it. And you'll know what you're taking a picture of. So that's what we're going to look at today.
That's sort of like their White House, kind of?
It's like their Capitol building.
Their state capital is that a big?
It's like the national Capitol. The Capitol with the big dome in Washington, D.C. It's their Capitol. It's where their legislature meets.
Oh, okay.
But it's big. But they have a different type of, we'll get into all that. I'm going to get all that. We'll go through step by step. What they have is they have something called a parliamentary democracy, whatever that means. But what I found interesting with Israel, as I was looking this up this week, is they have no written constitution. Like we have a constitution, they have no written constitution. Their entire government is based on something they call 11 basic laws. And that's what their government rests on, these 11 basic laws. But they do have, much like we do, they have an executive power. They have a legislative power, and they have a judicial power. So they have these 3 different branches or divisions of their government. Much like we do in our country. We have the president here, we have the Congress here, and we have our judicial system, the Supreme Court ultimately, but our judicial system over here, the court system over here. And they're all separated one from another. How you get in power in all this is a little different, and how this works is quite a little bit different than ours, but it's the same 3 branches. And that's what I want us to look at today. Now when it comes to the executive power, the top dog, the most powerful person in all of Israel political system is the prime minister. Netanyahu is the guy now. And that is the top man. The man is the prime minister. He is everything. Most powerful political figure in Israel. It's interesting, in here, our president is elected how? By what? Trick question, trick question. Electoral votes. So it's a little, we always think it's, the vote, there's electoral votes it does.
Yeah.
Well, this guy's elected by this branch.
Wow.
So it's a little bit different there. But we'll get to that. Just so you know, it's elected by the Knesset. But what he does is he makes foreign and domestic policy decisions. So, think about this. He makes the foreign policy decisions. Could you imagine if our president did that? 100%, he just makes the decisions. So the prime minister has a lot of power in Israel, a lot of power. That's why it was a big deal when Netanyahu came to our Congress, remember, and spoke to both House of Representatives and the Senate. Because when he speaks for Israel, he is speaking for Israel. In our country, if the president speaks for us, it's a federal situation, but it's got to be approved by the Congress on acts of war and things like that. And he can do his, what he's doing now is administrative vote and all this kind of stuff, administrative power, but this is the prime minister in Israel. So he's got a strong spot. Now when he gets elected, he has 45 days to put his government together. So the executive branch is the government. He has 45 days, once he's elected, to put his government together. And what he does is he has something, well, same thing here, a cabinet. And the cabinet is comprised of 28 ministers. Whether it's the Minister of Defense, Minister of Finance, 28 ministers make up his cabinet. He gets to appoint that cabinet, but the cabinet is got to reflect how the voting went, the party voting went, when he was elected. And how this legislative branch, the Knesset is called, we'll get that in a minute, how that is elected by the people. They have up to 12 different political parties. We have 2 basically. They have 12.
Wow.
They don't all get in, but they have 5 or 12 different parties. Right now in 2009, the last one they had, there were 5 major political parties represented with 10 seats or more in the Knesset over here. But based on what the breakup is in these 120 seats over here, this cabinet has got to reflect that same ratio over here. So if you have a lot of party number 1, and then less of party number 2, and then the most of party number 3, this should be made of a lot of 1s, a lesser of 2s, and most of 3s. So it's got to reflect this. But he gets to pick and choose who's on that cabinet. Most of the cabinet members come from here. So the people vote in this 120 people. The prime minister picks his cabinet from here. So that's how that works. In our country, the president picks his cabinet, he can pick anybody. In Israel, the cabinet's got to come from the Knesset, okay? So it's a sealed pool to pick from. But he's got to pick based on the ratio of the different parties represented over here. That'll be reflected in the cabinet. Am I kind of getting that across a little bit? So you have that? Okay, that's how that works. Once he picks his cabinet, then the Knesset over here has to vote and approve it or disapprove it. If they disapprove it, he's got to switch it around again until it's approved. It usually is, but not always. These guys meet, this cabinet, these guys meet every Sunday, which would be equivalent for us meeting every Monday. Yeah, it's the day after the holy day. So every Sunday they meet. So they have a cabinet meeting every Sunday. Who do you suppose chairs the cabinet meetings? Sure, Prime Minister, of course. The Prime Minister does that. Now, they have something else. You got 28 people here trying to come up with a quick decision. So Israel came up with a third thing called the Security Cabinet. And the Security Cabinet, he looks at this and he picks a few of these, the select ones, whoever he wants. Doesn't have to be ratio to party, just he picks his guys. And they're part of this Security Cabinet. And again, the Prime Minister is in here. So he's got a few of these guys, and these are the ministers from this cabinet. But what they do, these are the guys, Israel's under attack, they call Security Cabinet meeting. This is the inner circle, if you will. These are the guys he's tight with. We got to make a quick decision right now. We're being attacked, what are we going to do? For sure the Ministry of Defense is in here. And then other important people in here that he deals with quickly. There's no time, they say, in here for political dissension. We've got an issue, we deal with it right now. And their decision in here doesn't have to be approved, it's just a done deal. So you can see how quick Israel can respond. He has his guys, we make a decision, we're in route, we're done, that's it. So it can be a decision made in 20 minutes, bam, put the nation at war, defense, whatever. So the security cabinet is used for quick, effective decisions in time of crisis or war. Security cabinet is involved. So that's the executive branch. So when you see the prime minister, I was on one Israel trip, we were staying over in Israel, and we were staying at a really fancy, one of those fancy 5-star hotels, really nice. And all of a sudden the prime minister of Israel walked in. And it was like, security, like you cannot believe security. Immediately spotted us as a tourist, but still we were an American tourist. Immediately came over, just patted us down quick. Just standing there like, in comes the prime minister. And there he was. Walked through, he's going to some banquet room or something. But it was like, this is the big deal. This is the big wig right here. So Netanyahu, that is the prime minister. He'll be the prime minister probably when we're there. They have 4-year terms in the Knesset here. Since 1988, they've never made a complete 4-year term. It's so crazy. They always dissolve. They have an early election, change here, change here. There's a lot of not getting along the best over there. So it's just what it is. We'll see why as we get into the Knesset now. So the Knesset is the name of the bill. It's the name of the group, but it's also the building. And this is what we're going to see in Jerusalem. We'll be driving, and you're just going to hear. You're just going to hear him. He's going to say, on the left is the Israeli Knesset. And he'll say, that is similar to your capital. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and probably 3 up there. 10 or 12 are going to go like, the Knesset. Be all excited because you're going to know what it is now. You have a better understanding. So this is the Knesset right here. Now it's called something, it's not important to know this, but it's just a word that's kind of a cool word. Unicameral. Una means one. And this means, I don't remember what it means now.
Camera.
It's like camera, but it's like a, we are a bicameral, because we have the House of Representatives and the Senate. So there's 2 different sessions, 2 divisions, I can't think of the word, I lost the word. But this is one.
Branches?
Yeah, it's not even a branch, it's like, think of it like a division kind of, but it's not. But it's like that. So I'll just put division like this. So in the United States, we have the House of Representatives, what is it, 436, whatever it is, seats. And then we have the 100 seats in the Senate. So our legislature is made up of 2 branches. Israel, no, just 1. So they have just 1 with 120 seats in it. So that's it. So there's no House of Representatives and Senate. It's just 1. It's a unicameral. It's just 1. 1 big chamber. Come on in. We're going to deal with this. So that's what it is.
Single legislative chamber.
Chamber. Thank you. Chamber. Chamber. That was the word. 1 chamber. Thank you, Monica. Perfecto. Chamber is the word. So it's just got 1 chamber. We have 2 chambers. We have the House of Representatives and the Senate. 1 chamber. 120 seats in the Knesset. So when you're listening to the news now and you hear Israel, you'll hear the Knesset is dealing with the Prime Minister. It's like our Congress dealing with our President. It's that same type of thing. What's interesting, because the cabinet that he has is a reflection of this, his cabinet, his advisors working around him, are going to reflect pretty much what's going on here. So the purpose is that there will be more of an agreement, because it won't be like we have now, we have that stalemate. Because it's represented in the cabinet here. Interesting thing. So that's how that works. Okay, so we've got that. 120 members, they are elected by the people for a 4-year term. Like I said, they haven't had a successful 4-year term since 1988. So they get stalemated, they have different things going on, and they just stop the government, have new elections, and bring in new guys, new cabinet, sometimes a new prime minister. So you hear a lot of elections moving up quicker than, it's not necessarily scheduled, it's just what it is. So these guys elect the prime minister, but they also elect the president of state. president of the state. President of the state of Israel. That's another position. Now, in my mind, being an American, if I had a choice, you can either be prime minister of Israel or president of the state of Israel. Ooh, president of the state of Israel sounds pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
This is like the King of England today, or the Queen of England. It is nothing but ceremonial. So it's just a ceremonial position. These guys elect the prime minister, and they elect the president of the state of Israel, and they approve the cabinet position, the appointments. So the Knesset sets this part of the government up. This guy is all ceremonial. He has to sign every law that's made. He has nothing to do but that doesn't sign off. He just signs off. He signs off. He also...
Does he have the option of not signing?
No.
Huh.
No.
Okay.
No, it's ceremonial. It's ceremonial, man. It's
I'm
There's
just
no,
saying,
no
I'm just-
power, right?
no power.
Huh.
All the power is concentrated here. Netanyahu's got the power. So when Netanyahu speaks right now, he's speaking for Israel. Simple as that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's what it is. So he's the man. So he signs every law. He signs every international and bilateral treaty that Israel goes into. He has no choice. He can't say no. He has to sign it. If he doesn't sign it, they fire him. So he's going to sign it. So he's like a notary. Think of him like a notary.
Oh.
You know, he's the notary, so that he's not caught up with all that kind of stuff. So you got to sign all these laws that they're making. Don't put it on. Get over here. He just signs off on it. So it's just a formality. It's nothing. Interestingly enough, once they elect him by their bylaws, or not their bylaws, by their government structure, once he's elected, then they elect him first. Once he's elected, then he goes up and appoints him. Because
So he has
Prime
no
Minister?
power except he appoints the prime minister?
based on their election. So he's just the figurehead.
Wow.
He's the figurehead.
That's kind of a lot of power
But
until he actually
can't do anything.
appoints the prime minister.
But he can't do it. He can't not
But
do
he
it.
can't say no.
So they say that's the prime minister.
Oh,
So
and so he just does the,
He goes over and
he's
appoints
the
it.
voice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
oh, that's
they-
different.
This is the
Okay,
vote. They
sorry.
vote. They say this is what we got. So Phoebe's going to be the president. So Phoebe's the president.
Okay.
You guys all vote. Say Phoebe, it's going to be Netanyahu. Go tell Netanyahu he's the president or he's the prime minister. Then Phoebe and all the fanfare of the president of the state of Israel.
Okay.
Big news
Oh,
facts
man.
section. The president of the state of Israel appointed Benjamin Netanyahu as the prime minister of Israel today. It was like, whoa, the president appointed Netanyahu. And I have heard those kinds of things and could never figure out, I've never heard about this president dude, but he just appointed the prime minister.
I see.
How does he get to do that? You know, who is this guy? You never hear about him. Who is this president of Israel? That's this guy. And that's what brought it up. I thought, I should teach you guys this. The fact that we drove by the Knesset and no one took a picture of it. And I felt like, I didn't tell him what the Knesset was. That's really Bummer City. And then Connie was sitting behind me. She says, baby, what's the Knesset? I'll tell you later. She's going, I didn't want him to know that I didn't tell anybody about the Knesset. So now we know the Knesset. But, so this is the present state of Israel. He's just a formality. The only thing that he seems to do is he does pardon or commute prison sentences. That is his responsibility.
That's big.
That's pretty nice. So that's what he does. That's his office. So he does that. So in my mind, when I was putting this together, I almost see this as another little branch over here, but he's not part of the decision-making thing. But, you know, they each have, you know, Ministry of Defense, of Finance, of Tourism, whatever. His is basically prisons. You know, he commutes sentences. That's what he does. That's what he does. Pardons folks. He also does something pretty interesting. He appoints judges. That's big.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the judicial part, which is independent over here, this is the executive tie to the judicial section, is the president of the state of
So
Israel.
he gets to pick him, or they tell him to?
He picks them.
Oh,
He picks them.
from?
From, it's an independent, non-government pool, independent judges. He picks them, he puts them in different magistrate courts,
Mm.
appellate courts, whatever. He appoints that. So that's pretty big there.
That's a big deal.
That's big. So I shouldn't make so much fun of him, but for the most part, he's just a voice with all this kind of stuff. So that's the president right there. Okay, we got it? To be a prime minister, you have to be part of the Knesset. So when they vote on the prime minister, they vote from among themselves. So if we're in Israel, we're all Jews, we vote all over. We have different districts. We vote, bam, they all get in here, based on population, how many seats you get, and how many votes you get in each party and all. Once that's all in there, then this 120 people vote from among themselves for the prime minister.
But there's only 120 ever.
Yep. Only 120. And they have something, it's not important to know. I wrote it down, I think. Maybe I didn't. I thought I did. I guess I didn't. But it's a formula. I went online to find it because I've never heard of it. What kind of formula is that? I guess I didn't write it down. But it's just a formula that they use, and when I looked it up, it was like a popular formula. So I guess countries use it in Europe a lot. We don't use it here. But it was the, I apologize not having this. It was in the electoral system right here. The D'Hondt formula. So the D'Hondt formula has to do with, based on population, it kind of equates everything. So that it's sort of, it's similar to our House of Representatives, where the bigger the population, the more representatives you get to send to Congress. It's sort of like that, but the D'Hondt formula balances out so that the Californias, the Texans, and the New Yorks don't have so much of an advantage in representation over a state like New Mexico that's smaller in population. So the D'Hondt formula cuts everything in half based on population and what's going on. It's just a little formula they work out. So they do that, it just gives a more balanced representation. So that they use that to come up with it. So just notice a balanced representation in here. So they have these different parties. In 2009, I'll just jot them down, or I'll just say them, so big thing. They had the Kadima party, it was a major party. Likud party, that was a big party 20 years ago when I was over there a lot. Likuds were the majority in the Knesset. So the Likud party, the Labor Party, big party, the Israel Beitenu, and the Shash party right now. They have 5 parties that are representative of the 12. They have 5 major parties that have 10 or more seats in here. The other parties, if they just are less, they might have 1 seat, 2 seats. No big thing. Only once have they had one party have 61 seats, where one party had the majority, which was a big thing. So because of this, you have these breakups all the time, there's no majority party. So what they do is they form coalitions. So certain parties work with each other to get up to 61, so they have a majority. And if it breaks up, then it stalemates again, and that's typically when they call for a new election because they can't work with each other anymore. So you get these quick coalitions, and they form their agenda, and they push it through. They haven't gone 4 years.
The 120 are the ones who make the decision about a new election?
Yeah,
Like they put themselves out and then start over again
That's right.
because they can't make a decision?
that's right. That's right. That's exactly right. So it's just what it is. It's how they set it up. Okay, that's the Knesset. So we go by the Knesset. It's going to be 120 seats, 4-year terms. They haven't had a 4-year term since 1988. They can't make 4 years without breaking up because they have so many parties in there. It's so split up that they get along for a while, but they all have different agendas or different parties. And being from America, we should be able to understand that pretty good. So they don't always get along the best. Okay, so we got these two now, the executive branch, the legislative branch. The government over here, legislative branch in the Knesset, one chamber. This is who elects the prime minister, who elects the president of the state of Israel. He appoints the cabinet. Once it's appointed, they approve it to make certain it reflects this mix in here. It's got to reflect that mix of the majority parties. Okay? Makes sense, kind of? They write the laws. They do the laws. That's our Congress over here. This is our president realm here. Okay? Now the judicial is pretty simple. It's independent. It's not a governmental thing. It's a completely independent thing. Kind of similar to like our 3 branches are independent one from another. These two are kind of hooked together, you can see. They're voting for them and doing all this. This is an independent thing. So that's just a judicial, it's independent. It includes both the secular courts, and that's really all we have in our country are the secular courts. We have state and federal courts, but it's just secular courts. In Israel they have the secular courts, and they have the religious courts. The religious courts deal with family law, marriages and divorces. So that comes out of the religious courts. That's all under the judicial part of this government, Israeli government structure. To get in this, how this is going to get set up, remember this guy appoints the judges and everything? So he'll appoint the main judges, but there is this judicial selection committee that he oversees. And it's comprised of this. There's 9 members, 2 cabinet members. One is the Minister of Justice, so that's 2 of the 9. There's 2 Knesset members, 2 members of the Israeli Bar Association, 3 Supreme Court justices, and this whole thing is run by the president. So they have the selection committee. They have their whole thing. He's the voice for it. So I forgot about that. So I guess he's still the voice. So he appoints them, but it's through this selection committee. So there's that. Their court systems. Anybody know anything about courts here? Anybody know anything about courts? I don't know anything about courts. Like, you know what a magistrate court is? I don't know what that is. I think this is what it is, but I could be wrong. A magistrate court in Israel is the court you go, they call it for the first instance, the court of the first instance. So I'm assuming, I didn't look it up, but I'm assuming that means it's your first offense. I could be wrong, that's just what it seems to me, but I don't know if that's right.
I don't think so.
Okay, look it up.
Well, the court systems here, at least in the city, you have, it depends on the level, the degree of the whatever crime you committed.
Felony or
Like,
misdemeanor.
if you get a speeding ticket, you're gonna go to Metro Court.
Mhm.
If it's like a serious drug.
But what's
felony,
magistrate court?
I don't know, I'll look
Look
that
that
up.
up, yeah, magistrate, I understand that part, but I don't know what the magistrate court is. I don't know what that is. I've heard of the first magistrate.
Federal courthouse,
So it's just a federal court.
juvenile drug court.
Look up Israel magistrate. Magistrate court in Israel. But they have that. Then they also have what they call a district court.
The
Yeah?
the magistrate, what did I just, sorry. The magistrate courts serve as basic trial courts.
So it's just the ground level courts. Is that in America? Or in Israel?
I think that's just on Israel.
Okay. So first instance. So yeah, it's just the, who that is. First instance. I don't know what that is, but basic. But anyway, we have the magistrate court, we have the district court, that's the court of appeals. So these are the 2 courts they have in Israel. Magistrate court, go to district court if you're going to appeal it, or they'll do some first instance in here as well. But you'll not get any appeal in the magistrate court. But if this is full, they'll do it in the district court. Not that it's important, just so you know. And then they have the Supreme Court. And that is the final, just like in our country, the final or the ultimate. Oh, you got,
It tells you a little bit more.
is this Israel?
Yeah.
The magistrate
Woo!
court handles
Okay, got it.
civil cases of less than 2.5 million shekels, but not disputes over the ownership of land and criminal cases in which the maximum sentence is 7 years. Magistrate courts are to be found in most Israeli towns.
Check this out, check this out. Whoa, the district courts in Israel constitute the middle level courts of the judicial system. They have jurisdiction in any manner not within the sole jurisdiction of another court, okay? In criminal matters, the courts have jurisdiction over cases where the accused faces a penalty of at least 7 years in prison. In civil cases, they have jurisdiction over cases which more than 2.5 million shekels are in dispute. District courts also hear appeals of judgments of the magistrate courts, as well as cases involving companies, partnership, arbitration, prisoners' petitions, and appeals on tax matters. Sitting as courts for administrative matters, they can hear petitions against arms of government. One also sits on as the court of admiralty, hearing all the cases involving shipping commerce, accidents on the sea, and the like. Most cases are heard by a single judge, though the court president can choose to appoint a three-judge panel. Cases where the accused is charged with an offense punishable by at least 10 years in prison, and appeals from magistrate courts are heard by 3-judge panels. They have 6 courts like this, one in each of the 6 districts of Israel. The magistrate court serves as basic trial courts. So that's a district court, now the trial court. In criminal matters, they hear cases where the accused faces up to 7 years imprisonment, and civil cases have jurisdiction up to 2.5 million shekels. They also have jurisdiction over the use and possession of real property. The courts also act as traffic courts, municipal courts, and family courts. That's what Monica was talking about. Sitting as small claims courts, they have jurisdiction over cases involving claims up to 30,000 shekels. Rather than following standard evidentiary rules, they require extensive pleadings and documentation when filing a formally written complaint. Verdicts are expected 7 days from trial. Cases are heard by a single judge unless the court president decides to appoint a 3-judge panel. They have 30 magistrate courts, only 6 district courts. So that's the court system in Israel, just so we kind of have an idea on that. So that's what it is. It's an individualized, separate thing, independent from over here. Yep.
Wasn't there something in there about the president of the court appointing something?
I'm wondering if it's this through here.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I would guess. Thank you. Thank you. That's what I'm guessing. That's what I'm guessing.
So we just got more things to do.
Yeah, you got another thing. Pretty
Before
good.
having a good signature.
Yeah, that's nice.
Are they elected
Appointed.
or appointed?
Appointed by that panel.
Oh, just on.
That panel, that 9-member panel we talked about.
Right, I got
It's
it.
over here. Okay. Kind of have it. So that's the government of Israel in a nutshell, just so you can kind of see what it is. Got it, guys? This is crazy, huh? Yeah. But at any rate, all that, so when you drive by the Knesset, you see the Knesset, you'll have an understanding. When you hear the Prime Minister, you know that is who now? Benjamin Netanyahu. He was educated here in the States, of all things. Harvard, I think. Harvard or Yale? I think it was Harvard. But there he is. So that's what we got. So kind of makes sense. The Knesset, that's like our capital. Prime Minister, a lot of power. A lot of power. Has to come up through the Knesset. So Knesset is the people's contact to having influence in the government. Their vote here determines what this is like, and then from this is reflected in the cabinet. Okay? Got it? It's pretty easy. Thank you for looking up stuff. There we are. You got your money turned in, Miss C, you got your money turned in, 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 you got your money turned in.
Only a part of mine.
But you've got it, I mean, to the, what was due though, I'm talking about the due date.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting, I
Like at
talked
the
to,
end of February?
February 9th.
No, Virginia and I reversed it.
Okay, so, end of February. But what happened is we put February 9th on there, but it's gotta be sent in by the end of February. So we put February 9th because we know how that goes. And I just talked with two of the people that are coming from Minnesota, Larry and Barb, it's you guys, and they were on a cruise, and they got off the cruise, we told them they're heading home, so I just talked with them yesterday. So he's sending theirs in now, so that's coming in now, so that'll be it. And other than that, the other 3 up in the north have paid, the ones in Texas have paid. So we've only got, I think, 4 people locally left, and they'll be coming in here this week, so we should have 23, the way it looks right now, 23 paid, so I think we're good. Yay, passports are in, life is good. God bless you guys, thanks for being here. See y'all, bye. We're done. Yay.
Is there going to be anybody here at Washed by the Word in the month of June? Because that isn't,
July.
I mean,
July is when the Bulgarians go.
oh, okay.